we're missing a prefab pivot.
I was just going to say that.
They're working. That looks like it's working now.
And we want to align it to this info box.
Perfect.
2x1 that's the correct layer.
That looks good.
Prefab pivot is so that when it gets brought in, one of the
So we're currently watching the end
variables
of Star Citizen Live, which talked about
so that not everything is a straight 90-degree angle.
sort of like modular assets and the asset library and building assets and easily being able to select what assets you need and build them out. Blah, 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 blah.
Okay, I don't think I got these on the right layer either. 2x1 store common. Store common. Oh, that's right.
Oh, I'm not great with the Tavaran language yet. I will learn it a bit at some point. My mate John LaPlage, who helped start CitizenCon with me and Chris,
so I can get this
he's very good with it. He's one of the
automatically instead of manually looking
people that do all the Tavaran stuff.
Yep, no red text, so we're good. Let's check the database.
We're just going to finish watching this.
One more time.
A couple of minutes, it'll be done, and then we'll get into the main meat.
2x1.
Make this big.
So if I drag this in, great, we've got a procedural element now. So that should be all we need from this level. So we can jump back over to here. Let's go on our overlay because we want to change this.
Good, that looks like it's working properly.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in that element.
The very tail end of a watch party
for now, so I can make sure that the size and the tags are correct when I modify this one. Bring this over so you can see when I'm just doing the same thing, just but in this editor instead. Storage common 2x1. So bring it in here, and like this is a good kind of validation way as well, so we can chuck it up here and we can be like, I mean, I would say no, that this doesn't fit, but for the sake of the demo, I could be like, yeah, that works there. So that's great. So I'm gonna put these side by side because I can see these, I can see the tags and the dimensions it's looking for, and we're gonna get it to spawn in here. I mean, it's always gonna spawn this one in because we've only got one of it. But we could do something else that's not as cool, but we can lower the spawn chance of this coming in to quite low. Or we could see, actually, could we get this to spawn in over here? Let's, the minimum dimensions, okay, we're going to lower the minimum dimensions here. And
minimum
storage. If I do this, I'm not quite sure what will spawn in, but let's try it anyway. So 2.
That's a phrase we've had a lot of luck with on this show. Going back to reverse the verse and happy hour. Not quite sure what this is going to do.
I am building these Star Citizens actually entirely built by me, Osri.
Genitalia.
What?
That happened.
I said genitalia.
I'm not proud of it.
I'm gonna clip that.
So we're pretty much telling this volume that you can spawn anything between these. Actually, I didn't need to change the minimum, did I? No,
basically, they're able to build
so
big amounts of props and prefabs and stuff very quickly and easily.
Bigger than this internal volume, it will spawn it in. But we can see, is that the right tag? Storage, floor align.
Over. Couple of minutes.
So I didn't need to add any more tags. But what I can do is I can add different.
Then we will start
tags.
my stream proper.
Kind of like an and/or statement. So either look for storage floor aligned, or maybe look for vending floor aligned. So we can kind of do an either or, like either spawn in storage or a vending machine. I don't care at this point. And
I'm curious to what level we're going to be able to buy props and prefabs. And which ones will be pickupable? Will every individual book be a pickupable asset?
You know, this is a communal space. So
will they have use?
Maybe don't do storage.
Can I buy shelves?
I don't mind if it's a vending or a seat, because they're the kind of elements you'd see in a more commercial space.
This one is called Modular Space Stations. Star Citizen Live, Game Dev, Modular Space Stations.
Over that as well. So we don't need that guy anymore. What we can do is just cycle through this.
Yes, it's currently live. Just about to be ended. Just about to be ending.
Database didn't spawn in the way.
We're assuming it's live.
This might take
everything points to it being live. They are answering and chatting to chat.
System, so.
Truly random. But as long as we made the tags line up and the sizes line up as well. Just clicking it.
This is literally the last thing we'll be doing on the show. So as we've already hit time, so.
Sure.
It'll be appropriately funny if.
I just want to make sure
it just keeps
those tags are right.
Everyone clip the tags. We want to see if we can find random things to confirm.
Live game dev, we show you a behind-the-scenes look at the true real-to-life process of a game developer. And while sometimes it's something, flashy, like creating a new character concept.
Yeah, I want to be able to buy individual crates and shelves and books. I mean, I'm curious
for the future of space stations throughout the game.
Is it going to be to that sort of like granular level?
Because you push a button.
I mean,
you push a button and you push a button.
Star Citizen's super high detailed, right? It's all about it, sort of like immersion and fidelity.
So I'm just gonna get a
expression and being able to stylize your habs wherever you want seems like something they'd do.
Get through
it also helps stimulate the economy massively in the game if you have a billion different things. If you can open books as well and read books, I mean that's huge as well, isn't it? Sort of curious to what granularity they're going to have it.
Now I'm thinking, alright, it should have probably spawned in by now, so it must be an error I'm doing on my end.
That's alright.
Let me just remove the preview.
Looks like.
At the very least, if this doesn't work, let's go back to the original layer and just show the folks that have joined since the beginning of the show how the entire layer can spawn in.
You're going to publish your first book in Star Citizen, what as in lore in-game book?
Spawning incorrectly is we set up the sizes to a T. So we go. What is this? 2 by 7.
Yeah.
5,
I'm hoping
2, 7,
they don't
5.
try and sell props and assets outside of the game. Call for them being sort of like subscriber flare
0.75
and maybe very super unique items like once every quarter or something they could sell something for a $5. And it's like a trophy or whatever. But don't nickel and dime me with aesthetics, please.
Fits.
You're not a free-to-play game.
Within this. So we're going to start seeing a lot less of the other props. So floor align storage. That's utilitarian. I'll just check my default tags. Yep. And then now I can spawn this and I can kind of see the console will spit out at me. Okay, so
Houdini, I will help you in a second. We'll talk about that.
Had to be a bit more specific with the size, I guess.
Waiting for this to end.
So we'll just
thank you for the love very much.
We're going to wrap up. I'll just drop that random chance that I talked about to let's go 0.7 because I don't want to sit here forever trying to get it to spawn or to not spawn. And are we on? Yep. So we're on overlay C, and I just need to quickly export this back out into the prefab library so the library is updated, and I can turn off C. Actually, I kind of underestimated how quickly I could probably preview this because now I've got a 1 in 3 chance of spawning in the overlay that I put the shelf in, and then a 0.8 chance.
I think you mean Stanton, Dirk, but I'll talk to you about that in a second as well.
But you know what?
Your dice take your chances.
Sometimes you just got to believe.
dude, sometimes just got to believe this guy's right. Listen to what he's got to say, and it's making more sense.
This is a one-click procedural generation button for all the elements.
Someone chuck money at me. I'll have a look at the money in a second.
You got it on the first try.
I'll have to have a look at money now, in case it's a lot of money.
People in the chat must have been believing. So
thank you very much, Bob Core, for the donation.
A couple more
all I'm doing is restreaming something else at the second. We'll be answering questions and going into the normal stream in a sec. Brian Barnett, thank you very much as well for the Patreon pledge. Very much appreciated.
All the tags that are laid.
3 stars. Thank you.
Laid out throughout this particular room, and does a whole nother layout with different lighting, with different environment probes. Oh, we didn't show the dynamic environment probes.
I could touch on it briefly.
Real quick, I do have to let you go. Yeah, we're on overtime right now. Can we just show that?
I'll talk over that while I show a different uni room, because we've seen 05
that was some pretty cool signage there.
People,
admittedly, I like the branding.
The thing, we're just kind of changing one room up a tiny little bit. We're actually working on, we have the chance of spawning in 5 different uni rooms instead of 1, so we can just do the same thing.
We're currently restreaming the Star Citizen Live episode, which was just about to end. So, and I was like, oh, I'm just about to start streaming. I'll stream this first.
Probes,
so we can follow on straight from it.
Something that kind of makes this possible, because previously...
They're talking about modularity and space stations.
We baked our probes and they're static, so
asset
they
libraries.
belong to a certain lighting setup. So if we brought in red lights on a probe that was baked with green lights, we would see red lights, but kind of green reflections,
right?
And that wouldn't really make much sense.
Lighting's all dynamic, isn't it? Now they're moving on to that.
Means we can change up the lighting to whatever we want, really.
Or is it just purely? Okay, it's sort of hand keyed, the lighting.
Got some stuff spawning in odd spots.
This sort of stuff that's away from the sunlight.
Yeah, I got too many previews. And then, the lighting changes dynamically. So now we can,
sort of mixture of both.
We can do a lot wider changes in terms of lighting and stuff like that as well.
For the community, environment probes are basically in the easy kind of a layman sense. You can have red lights, you can have blue lights, you can have green lights and whatnot. But the environment probes are determine how those lights react.
Don't worry.
The environment.
We'll have board ASMR.
For lack of a better term, and it's all the environmental factors that are there that can affect it, make it look more greenish, like he was talking about. It's a big part of why sometimes your spaceship looks a completely different color in one location versus another location, just like it does in real life. And before they had to bake those in, they had to create in each environment probe individually for each location, but now they're dynamic. It's so much more freeing.
I'm just trying a different universal room.
What are they doing? What's he doing? I don't know what he's doing now. It's just darkness with fake stars.
Something came in. Oh.
It's very
might be dying. Yeah, for some reason I was dying. But yeah, we can run it a few times on this level as well. See what we get. Like different changes.
It's not just the props that are changing; it's the entire atmosphere.
Yeah.
Do you like the way the lights work? That's cool.
We can specify on prop volumes as well, whether or not they emit, warmish lights or cool lights, so we have that finite control over like the mood in a room as well. So we're not seeing kind of like in color theory, you can have 2 colors that don't go together, and that's another kind of control we have on it. So we're not putting blue and red lights right next to each other and creating like jarring visuals.
Right.
We can put lights that work well together with other lights that work well together.
All right. Well, I don't want to keep you trapped here like these 3 dudes are here. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back
Oh.
to the camera here, and we'll wrap things up.
Okay, this is ending.
Joel, thank you so much for taking the time
And then,
at the end of your week.
hopefully,
It's always, these are always at the end of
this
every
guy will
week's
have
week,
something
always at the
interesting
end
to
of
say
Fridays,
about some
especially when
news.
you're from
Then
the
we can
UK.
move in
Here, I'm just starting my
to the
Friday,
stream
so I got a whole
proper.
day of work left to
It's
do.
going to be perfect. Oh, Big Tater, I love you. Thank you for becoming a
staying late.
YouTube
Thank
member.
you for taking the time to show us your process, to explore just a little of what goes into these modular space station interiors. Of course, these are currently in development as part of our ongoing work to build out not just the Stanton system, but Star Citizen in general. So, Joel, thank you so much. I'm going to let you go. Guys, remember there's an episode of Pillar Talk coming out later today. I don't entirely know when because I've been in here doing this for the last hour. So that's going straight to YouTube. Keep an eye out for that, as well as updates to the public roadmap. And we'll be back here next week with another episode of Star Citizen Live. So thanks. Thanks for watching.
Cool.
Take care.
Thanks.
No worries. I love you. Bam. Let's move to this bit. That's probably good. Let's make some stuff happen. Is that good? You can't see the behind the wizard's curtain. Perfect. Let's click off this. Let's click on this. Let's make Pedro happen. Perfect, Pedro. Oh, he's literally in my room playing music. So, with a whole orchestra. That's a lie. Now let's turn that down on my headset. Let's put my headset around my neck. And yeah. So how is everyone doing today? Is everyone good? We just watched the very end of Star Citizen Live, which was looking at the internals of space stations and sort of like modularly building bits out with asset libraries and that sort of stuff. We should see some big changes with the rest stops in 3.7, and then they're going to be building out more and more types of space station with cargo stations and all this sort of stuff as well. And there's going to be huge asset libraries with lots of different props, including like bookshelves and little tiny crates and much bigger things and much smaller things than we saw previously as well. They set up like a crime scene with like little areas of blood and by an ATM and that sort of stuff. So all of those assets are all part of libraries that they keep on expanding and adding tags to. And the more they add to that, the more diverse the Star Citizen universe will be. Yes, he called everyone lobsters as well. Yeah, why not? If anyone would like to ask a question about anything, question in brackets allows me to more easily pull it out. That's not a euphemism for anything. So what do we have? I said I would answer a couple of people's questions straight off the bat. I can only afford a CCU to the Nautilus from an already expensive ship. Despite it being an awesome capital ship, I feel I've lost out because I could not buy the Solstice version. So the Solstice version is just a skin. You've got to remember, with a lot of these skins, they're not that great. The exclusive skins, they're very minor perks, and you will probably, almost certainly, want to customize your Nautilus when we have the customization, aftermarket customization in game to a much larger degree. The Solstice version of the skin was not particularly exciting. It is just a very slight change. In fact, am I logged onto the right account? Probably. Let's go to the Nautilus. Not sure why I sounded like I was falling. Yeah, okay, we've got this here. We go to desktop, and we can see that this is the normal Nautilus, grey and sort of like blue-grey or dark grey and red, and you can have it, if you get the Solstice version, in a lighter grey, white and yellow. It's literally just a slightly different skin, and I wouldn't worry too much about that. What ship are you CCUing from? And remember, you can get these ships in-game as well. So sort of like bear that in mind. Oh, it is Chairman's Club colours, isn't it? Of course it is. That makes sense. But I'll want to talk about ship rentals today, because obviously 3.6.2 doesn't have ship rentals in yet. It has the 890 jump, and that looks like it's the 99% of the patch is the 890 jump. So that's a bit interesting. They are getting rid of their legacy merchandise soon. So 2nd of September, I believe. They're just moving on to the new line of merch. There was an Inside Star Citizen, which was significantly better than last week's. Good for them. Couldn't have been worse, though. It was a good episode, this week's. Had lots of cool stuff in. They talked about materials and Mobi-Glass customizations and some dynamic audio and weapon customization and UI building blocks and the Nautilus. It was a good episode. I've just got a video that's just come out about it. So what I'm going to do is every Friday, Friday sort of like between morning and midday my time, I'm going to do a Star Citizen series called Star Citizen Insider, and that's going to take Inside Star Citizen, summarize that, but then take every other relevant sort of like news and dev response from around that time, and talk about that as well, and sort of like expand on everything where possible. So the idea is to have a more informative show that can go into a few more details of things than Inside Star Citizen might be able to, but also talk about like other new things that are happening, like Alpha 3.6.2 going to Wave 2, that sort of stuff. So hopefully that will be an interesting show, and is a little bit more of a slightly refined format from me, and that's sort of the thing that I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks. I'm going to be doing some gameplay stuff. I'm going to be doing some refinement of some of my like content, and then I'm going to be doing some more FAQ and guide stuff as well. The reason I'm doing that and refining my content now is because I'm just about to employ someone full-time to work with me, and I want to get the sort of like types of content and types of show standardized for my channel. Yeah, it's still evolve, but standardized for my channel for when she joins me, so that we know what we're doing, we know what we're making, and I can go, yeah, this is the format for this, bam, we can improve it, great. The thing that Zin's supposed to be doing with me is getting better B-roll footage, helping me make the videos, and helping me edit them. So we should get some editing class eventually to some of my videos, because at the moment my editing is super lackluster. But I went a bit off piste there, didn't I? I'm going to publish my first book of Star Citizen. I'm interested to see what you're doing with that Tumblr. What else have we got? I love all the love. Thank you very much. I get a huge ego from just listening to, reading stuff from my viewers and fans. Thank you very much. I'm assuming that as of today you are not a CIG shield. What? Why am I not a CIG shield today? I've never been a CIG shield. Have they denounced me? If you had to own Housing Crusader, which planet or station would you want to make your home? As I said earlier, I think you meant Stanton. So, I mean, Hurston's the most developed planet at the moment that we have in game, as in biome-wise. I like the biomes there. I would probably want to live. I need to see what Microtech actually looks like, and is it really super cool? Can I have like a cute? Can I live in a botanical garden greenhouse? If so, awesome. If I can live in a really cool, and not a pun, area of Microtech, then maybe Microtech. It's going to be Microtech or floating around in Crusader. Crusader, for a gaming sense, is sort of like living on Horizon on Crusader. You should be able to get to your ship and out of the area really quickly, because it's floating around a higher orbit, isn't it? The sort of like station there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know until I actually see the stuff. At the moment, I love Lorville. That's currently in game. So 3.6.2 is not live yet, but it is Wave 2 PTU. So it's available to more than just subs, Concierge, and Evocati. It's available to a range of backers that are relatively active, gameplay time-wise, and on the issue council. So Pillar Talk is what I'm looking forward to today. It's not out yet, is it? Reddit. Have a look in the Reddit, see if it's out. I don't think the Pillar Talk will be out yet. No. Very much looking forward to Pillar Talk. It will probably tell us a lot of 3.7 information. I don't know if we're going to be disappointed with any of it, or if they're putting some extra bits in. I am expecting some changes to 3.7, especially with new additional content, but some stuff could get pushed back as well. Like physical inventories, that's probably the hardest thing in there to do. Looking forward to that, hopefully. Even if it's a disappointment on the roadmap, I'm looking forward to any roadmap updates they're going to provide as well. Does the Solstice have a bigger jump drive? It doesn't, does it? Isn't it just a skin change? What does Solstice skin? Comes with a skin variant. Where does it say that has anything different? Comes with a serial number, comes with the skin. I don't think it comes with any changes. I mean, could be wrong. Solstice. I cannot find any details of it coming with anything else beyond the skin and the warbond bits. Do you know if the new space station interiors will be as large as the space stations themselves, or smaller like placeholders we have now? They are expanding the rooms and the room types and the way the procedural text works with that, so they can have much larger space station interiors and have different rooms attached to them, and they will cater for a lot of different types of rest stops and eventually other types of space station. I don't know exactly what we're going to get until 3.7 comes out, though, what's in our hands. But expect larger interiors that are married, somewhat at least, to the exteriors. So you should see bigger bits of it, and the end goal will be certainly to have it fully reflected. But I'm not sure what we're getting in 3.7. Would Anvil benefit from a multi-role ship sized like the Connie, or a combat ship sized like the Connie? I think all manufacturers would. Like, in 10 years' time, I am expecting there will be hundreds and hundreds of Star Citizen ships, not just the lots we have already. I don't actually know how many ships there are anymore. Got it written down somewhere. How do you make enough UEC, or Alpha UEC in this case, to buy a ship? So there's lots of different ways. You can do combat missions, you can cargo haul, although that's a bit risky. I do combat missions like destroying probes and stuff like that. You can chain them together, you can make a lot of money. If you can get bounty hunting missions working, that was something I used to do in the 3.6.1 PTU. That was the best way I found of making money, although bounty hunting missions don't seem to work reliably every time now. But yeah, probe hunting missions, that sort of stuff. Some of the combat missions, they're pretty solid. Could I use a flight stick instead of a keyboard for Star Citizen? Yeah, of course you could. Have you ever thought of showing the same video content that you're talking about? I know this adds lots of work though. I do a lot of the time now. Occasionally when I'm just talking or there's no appropriate videos, I'll just talk at stuff. But if you notice in my most of my latest videos from the last couple of months, a good portion of them have very, very, very appropriate B-roll behind them. Radagast, I don't think you can be a CIG shill without them paying you or giving you something in kind. Otherwise, you're just an enthusiastic fan, or they've made you into a advocate for them without paying you. I'm very much an advocate of Star Citizen as a project and as a game. I love it, but I don't receive any payment in kind or anything. Do you think we'll get the Hull C finally at the end of the year? That's the plan. That they obviously need it for Squadron 42 as well, so it's something there. It's probably the ship itself's probably ready already for the most part. They just need to get the physics stuff fully working in game and not crashing when it expands and contracts, and then obviously be able to dock and undock with stations. So yeah, this is the difference. It doesn't the Solstice version doesn't seem to have anything else.
I have the day off. Happy Friday. Hope
Oh, Dalamas, thank you very much for the monies.
Maybe a typo, but the Matrix shows the Solstice with a larger jump drive.
Ah, the Matrix shows, does it? Let us have a look at the SHAP matrix. RSI. Get matrix. Oop. The same weight. It's got the same stats. So it's got a large jump module rather than a small jump module. I mean, that's got to be a typo. There's no way that one just has a small jump module. It's got to be a typo. In the same way that it says radar available and rather than radar large. I'm 99% sure that the Solstice version is just a skin change. Otherwise, it would have described it as being something different. The weight's the same and everything like that as well, so the weight would have changed a good amount if it was just a small, and it doesn't make any sense for it just to have a small one. Don't know 100% for sure, but I mean, I'm 99% sure. I bet on it. You think we'll see 4.0 on the roadmap today? Oh my god, that's the dream, Basselbaum. That's the dream. On the other specs, the other Nautilus has a size small jump drive. Let's have a look on the bit of a finding out exercise for me today. Apologies. I'm normally relatively well researched. Let's have a look. Let's put up on the screen so you can see what I'm looking at. The Nautilus Minelayer. All the decks and everything there. We'll have a look at the brochure. The brochure's more likely to show us details. Yeah, so let's have a look at the brochure. Well, actually, let's do two things. Let's go to the Nautilus ship page. And go to the brochure. Nemo drones. Quantum drive large. Jump drive large, quantum drive... What? Jump drive large, quantum drive large? What? Listing them separately. That's okay. It says they're larger than the brochure. It says they're large here. Yeah, it's a typo. Dimples. Solstice version's exactly the same except for a skin change. Almost certain. What else have we got? Yeah, it's just supposed to be a skin. I would love to be able to explore some more of ArcCorp organically, not just Area 18. I think there is going to be a good amount more of ArcCorp to explore in the future. I do find it funny that people get so grumpy and angry about ships and ship balance at this stage as well. So my mindset is, the reason I'm a lot more chill about certain things is because I genuinely believe that 99% of the problems we have in game now will be fixed in the future. The length of time they take and how sort of tardy and how inefficient they are is something I'd much more willing to criticize CIG on. But the poor game balance or mechanics not working properly or whatever, much more lenient on, because I like, well, they'll be fixed. Talk about them, discuss them, get them improved, get your feedback into them. But I'm less willing to be sort of like aggressively critical about them. That's just my thoughts on it, though. You're more than welcome to have an entirely different opinion than me. It's hard to count ships now because you count ground vehicles and variants. Yeah, well, you'd come up with all the numbers, wouldn't you, and display all the data. I will do another all the ships that we've got planned and in the games at something at the moment. Hey, what do you think about the hull B? So the hull A and B, they've got not so much use for me in game, because there's so many other ships that do what they do to a better degree or more efficient, in my opinion. Hull B might be a bit better placed as sort of like, was it a $90 ship? And it was something that I had a load of Gladiuses on different accounts, and I changed them all to Hull Bs. But I don't know. Like the Hull C, obviously, it's much more of a cargo hauler. The Hull A and B are too small for me. But I do think the extra cargo of the Naughty and the Nautilus makes it a better overall ship than the Hammerhead. They're different ships. So the Hammerhead has more conventional firepower. The Nautilus, obviously, is a mine-laying ship. It's a much more defensive ship. It's going to be more tanky. It's going to have extra cargo space. But it's an interesting one because it's a very cool fleet support craft, because not only can it minesweep, it's pretty good at detection and scanning, and it's going to be suitable for like 4 to 8 people. But it's also got that sort of like, and it's very tanky, but it's also got that long range frontal support. So it can fly around with capital ships and join a fleet after it's done its defensive sort of like things, and long range snipe effectively. And if it does get engaged by ships, it's going to be able to survive to get back to its fleet and stuff like that. We're expecting the PlayStation interior exteriors to be, and the marriage between them to be pushed back from 3.7, are you? Okay. We don't know when Pillar Talk's out. Some point today. Was there a Cyberpunk livestream as well? Oh. What? Star Citizen livestream is next? No. Star Citizen Live's just been. Started my stream as that was ending. Firefly, I think we're going to see substantial changes to 3.7 and 3.8 on the roadmap. That's a certain possibility. I'm hoping not huge ones, unless they're additions. They might have worked out that they can't get server-side object container streaming in this year or something and pushed it back to 3.9. If so, then you'll see Microtech push back into 3.9 at the beginning of Q1 2020, along with server-side object container streaming appearing on the roadmap. That'd be cool. 4.0 on the roadmap would be cool as well. I don't think we'll see 4.0 on the roadmap until CIG is comfortable with Squadron 42 progress and server-side object container streaming. That's a possible. We don't know when when Pillar Talk's out. Sometime soon, I would expect, though. Probably within the next couple of 2-3 hours, I'd expect to see it. Did you change the gravity inside your ship? No, so as far as I'm aware, the ships with the gravity generators, so the larger ships, the non-one-seater ships, they can effectively be turned off, gravity generators. I'm not sure if you can change your gravity beyond just on and off. I know that Vandal ships have low gravity as their standard gravity setting, because the Vandal like to jump around. Jump up, and get down. Lord, I can't wait for Caves. Some people have been saying that Caves are 3.7, and they talked to... There's some people that I couldn't confirm are actually at the concierge event, but they, 2 different people said to me, Caves, time for 3.7. I was like, okay. I didn't hear anyone else say that. But that's interesting if that's true. With the physical inventories coming, hopefully they will have Caves with sweet loots to find soon. Yeah, I think it might not be with sweet loots, but maybe it will. Maybe they'll already have them integrated with the mission system when they add Caves. The naughty list, indeed. What? Am I streaming a low resolution? I might be. Oh, what have I done? I had to fucking operate this. No, we're good. We're good resolution-wise. 1 hour and 30 minutes to the Cyberpunk live stream. Oh, exciting. Okay, no, so from what we know that CIG have said recently, they have been trying to get, they've targeted server-side object container streaming 3.8. That's their target this year, if possible. And obviously that might change if they know that they can or know that they can't get it, and they are aware that they might have to push server-side object container streaming and things that are reliant onto it back into the next year, so from 3.8 to 3.9, basically. So sort of like bear that in mind, and temper your expectations for that. We've had some interesting news this week. Obviously, we've got the Aegis Nautilus that's come out with Minelaying gameplay. I say come out, it's on concept sale. And it's going to have homing mines and sentry mines, so it's going to be very defensive. Looks like it's got 24 mines it can drop, but it can also launch 2 of its drones, Nemo drones, to get other people's mines and repurpose them for itself. Mines will need maintenance is the idea, and the ship's pretty big. It's bigger than a hammerhead with an extra deck effectively as well, and it looks cool. It's a sort of like longer range support ship. The hammerhead should be able to beat it close up, but I say beat it, it'll probably be able to beat it off. Let me rephrase that. These are the sort of ships that when they're fighting one-on-one, they will disengage with each other before critical damage has occurred, in my opinion. Just because the Nautilus is very tanky. That's the idea of it. Sort of like treating it almost like a Drake in Eve. Very cool looking ship. $675, is it? Yeah, $675. Lots more with VAT. And $725 not as a war bond. Very expensive ship, something I'll be getting in-game. I don't want to be spending that much on a ship when I already have all of the Aegis ships in the world. Some cool new merch as well. The mouse mat is fucking cool. Let's not beat around the bush here. That is pretty slick as a mouse mat. What size is it? That's pretty big as well. 29 centimeters by 30 centimeters. Okay. That's pretty cool. What else do we have that I wanted to talk about? Yeah, looking forward to mine gameplay. We know that mines are going to be in Squadron 42. 3.6.2 is out to the PTU, or the sort of like wider PTU Wave 2, so that's more than just Concierge subs and Evocati. It will go to Open PTU after this. I can actually load up some Star Citizen. Oh. Oh. Bear with me 1 second. What have I done? We can load up the 890 jump and have a little walk around while we're chatting. That'll be nice, won't it? I actually do own an 890 jump. So we will do a 890 jump party when the patch goes live. On the weekend or early next week is what I'd hope. So, yeah, I'll go on my Discord and we'll record. We can do some stuff live on it, but I'll also get some stuff recorded. I promised Rexzilla as well that I'd jump in for some ops with him on his live stream. And there's one of the YouTubers that does in the Down the Rabbit Hole has asked me to be his guide. There's lots of stuff happening over the next couple of weeks. Obviously, prepping for... Cool. Let us go to game. We have Star Citizen listed as a game in game. Is this working? Gonna work? Or is it just gonna be a black screen? It's gonna be a black screen because you hate me. Why do you hate me so, Star Citizen, when I love you so much? Studio, themes, cloud, store, themes? Capture game. Perfect. Excellent. Tech ship. Origin. What? Can I not spawn the 890 jump in single player anymore? Free flights. Not gonna let me spawn it? No. Oh. Huh. Why did they take that away? Make sure this is my account with my A90 jump on it. Back to chat. Apologies for that. I wanted to run around on the 890 jump. Why you violence my boat? My hangar. This per page. Look at one of my accounts. Not gonna F3 90. Okay. We got an 890 jump. Okay. Maybe we need to copy the account across again. If that works. With the game. Could be they've just removed the ability to be able to spawn it in. There. Or maybe it's because I ran the game in live. Oh, who's a silly numpty boy? Me. Got this. I got this. Are you in PTU? No, G-sharp. Only you'd been here a minute ago. Maybe you were and I just didn't read what you'd said. Oh, silly BoredGamer is silly. Okay, here we go. Forward my account across and everything again. Yeah, the pirates stole my ship. How dare them. Will eating be instant, or will I be able to sit and enjoy a lengthy rice meal with colleagues? I suspect there'll probably be instant options and sitting down and eating options. I mean, Star Citizen wants this, like, stupidly high level of fidelity and sort of, like, second lifeiness. We don't 100% know, but I would expect sitting down and eating. Or at least an animation for overly noisily eating. Free flights. Select ship. This time. Perfect. Now we can run around the 890 jump while chatting. I might buy a Nautilus for a giveaway. But I probably wouldn't do a giveaway anytime soon with it. I'd buy it and then give it away later. Is the CD Projekt Red stream on now, Fisabum? Or is that on, like just over an hour, isn't it? Yeah. I'll be going over there myself as well. Typically, streamers typically would be angry at you for putting another stream in there, but you know, it's Cyberpunk, and fair enough. Anyone know when the Nautilus will be flight ready? So they've done quite a lot of its interior and animations, and people said that went to the Aegis event that it was either at the very end or finishing off its grey box phase. So, I mean, you could see it early next year. Let's start talk. We don't know when Pillar Talk's on, and I suspect that Pillar Talk is straight to. Well, it's going to be straight to YouTube. It's not a live show. So, we are in the 890 jump, and we start off in the battle bridge. We have the two gunners chairs. The left one, I believe, has access to the missile turrets. So we've got 4 missile turrets here. You can enter any of these missile turrets. And then we've got conventional gun turrets. 2 remote turrets here as well. So we've got 6 remote turrets, basically, that the gunners can use. And it's interesting because that does imply that not all of the guns can be used simultaneously. However, there is a mirrored station on the bridge for each of the battle bridges stations. So you could have 2 of the remote missile turrets being used at the time, and both conventional gun turrets being used at the time at the moment, if you had enough crew. Let's jump out of there. I thought that was very, very cool. And it is probably the most beautiful ship in the game at the moment. It is huge. It is floating level. If you're on an 890 jump, I don't think most of the time you're going to know where the hell you're going. But when you do sit down and have a little look around, you'll notice that there is a lot going on. So let's go up to... well, I suppose we can have a look quickly at the hangar and cargo area. And this is the crew area. This is the little rec room for the crew. And then we've got the main hangar. So with the hangar, the floor actually goes up after the doors open. Oh, mate! If I was a Cyberpunk channel, I would watch Cyberpunk on the live stream. But I'm not sure if you're allowed to rebroadcast it even. There's very specific things that CIG allow you to do as a streamer. That part of their stuff that says they won't claim copyright on you or anything like that. And I'm not sure of Cyberpunk's. Although I suspect CD Projekt Red are pretty good at not being dicks. So, would people be interested in me doing a playthrough of CD Projekt of Cyberpunk on stream or as a set of videos? We've got a medical bay, just a small medical bay. Actually, there's a cargo bay on the opposite side as well, which basically instead of going up, goes down, and you can put a ballista in there as well. So it's got a large vehicle you could put in there, technically. We are going to go to... Let's start at the top. Right, so we've got some of the little guest rooms here. Eventually we'll have fish in the fish tank. And hopefully, as I was talking about earlier, I'm hoping that we can individually buy props like this and place them. Individual books and things like that. Like, if they have a super granular level, fuck it, why not? I'm interested in that sort of stuff. They're trying to make the game like Second Life. Why not? Another guest room there, and then we've got the bar and restaurant area, which is huge. You look at the seats on the ship. What is it like? I don't know. Probably at least 60 chairs on this ship. Might even be a lot more than that. So many. So much seating on this ship. Got the missile turrets we were talking about earlier, the remote ones. There are 2 large manned turrets as well that are conventional cannon weapons on. That we had access to when we were in the hangar bay. It's just sort of like the views that you have that are pretty cool. Very Star Trek. Mine on Skynet. Could the mines be salvaged and stolen if they're not maintained and deactivated? Yeah, they can be stolen if they are maintained. Nemo drones can come in and repurpose the mines. Yeah, well, these aren't my mines, but they defuse them and take them. But I suspect that if they're not maintained properly, then other ships can take them, probably with tractor beams. Or potentially other modules. We can see there's huge amounts of not used open space that's supposed to represent luxury. I haven't seen, if it's out yet, I haven't seen architect reviews from Morphologists. I do suggest everyone watches that. And they are very, 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 very in-depth, very pretty videos that he's gone into a lot of effort. Oh, red tomato balls! Gone into a lot of effort to research and review ships. So I believe what's actually supposed to be here is the honeycombed 3D sort of like picture frames. It's like a picture frame with lots of honeycomb type stones coming out, like Giant's Causeway type stones. But yeah, there's like a lot of art in these ships. It's a hugely expensive ship, and it is mostly open space. So mines are supposed to be relative to size 5 torpedoes in an ordnance value, but they can also effectively house 2 size 2 weapons. So sort of like bear that in mind for their size. They're not huge, but they're not small. Like man-sized, I'd assume. Maybe just a little bit bigger. So, will the 890 jump be sold when the 3.6.2 patch comes out? I suspect they might have a limited hull ship sale of it. Makes sense. What's the news on Caves? Some people are saying that Caves are going to be coming out in 3.7 that were at the Aegis event. And they said that they're aiming to try and get Caves in 3.7. I have not 100% being able to corroborate exactly the sources for that. I was looking for sources the other day, but I couldn't find them. Was in Arena Commander earlier. I couldn't rent weapons with Rec. Is that a bug? That's almost certainly going to be a bug. What else have we got? If I spend enough money, can I open my own taco stand in the game? I wonder if we're going to be able to have that sort of level of shop. Be interesting if we can. Will there be the ships expo in game that we can visit, like in that video series? So I believe at CitizenCon, 23rd of November, they're also doing the expo event at the same time, which is like the big sale that they do, the anniversary event. I would expect Arc Corp Area 18 to have an expo like Lawville did last year throughout that time. So for a couple of weeks from the 23rd, expect an expo in-game event. Anyone know when the core will be able to use its missile hardpoints? No, I don't. What type of fauna would you like to see in game? Flora and fauna. Just we need a huge variety. I want to see dangerous animals. I want to see cool little birds. I want to see things that I can capture and keep as pets. I want to see giant sandworms. I'd like to see a Cyberpunk playthrough. That would be a good bit of variation. Ash, would you like to see it on stream, or would you like to see it on video, or both? Do you think they will rebalance ship spotlights at one point? It seems strange to me that the Aurora has better spotlights than the 600i. Yes, certainly. Almost certainly going to sort that stuff out. Are SIG going to fix the problem with the Constellation front screen disappearing anytime soon? I would expect so. They're obviously updating all the HUDs and UIs at the moment as well now. You should get 50 of us in your 890 jump in one server for live. Yes, 100%. We'll do an 890 jump party. I'll start to organise it when we know that it's going to go live. So once it's in wider PTE, we'll be like, cool, it's probably going to go live next week. Jump party on this day, bam, just jump in the Discord, we'll get everyone in. Can we watch Pillar Talk and restream? You should be able to. CIG are pretty cool with being able to restream their stuff. Rebroadcast. What's that view from my 890 jump? So, I am just in Arena Commander in... not Broken Moon, is it? The other one. You know, that other one. They're just in Arena Commander. These locations don't exist in the persistent universe yet. Should soon. And as we said, the bridge mirrors the battle bridge for stations, so you should be able to have someone in the battle bridge and someone on the main bridge to get more turrets being used. The hologlobe, that is actually going to have some function. We can actually see that this is the radar from the main pilot / captain's chair. That should be a bit more useful in the future. We've got a place for some components. I'm not sure exactly what components are going to be there. We've got the sort of like executive or captain's suite, depending on how much money you're trying to make for each of your voyages. But this basically is just space hotel. Loads more seating here. We've got a meeting room over here. So you can tell people how great you are. Little mini bar. Giant master bedroom. Very cool. Oh, it's got its own little bathroom as well. Let's clear that off. Ooh, bathroom. I might get some of these art things made for my room and for my eventual house. I quite like some of them. It'd be cool to have a Star Citizen themed house. Ooh. They actually look like cheap knives to me as an ex-chef. Little kitchen. You can have dinner parties. Oh, thanks, Alfred. Yeah, in the future, happy to take you up on the offer of spawning things in. So down a level, we've got the spa, and I think so. The funny thing is that this engineering. Yeah, so this is takes us down into engineering and the life rafts. The funny thing is about this ship is that when it goes live, it's just a multi-crew, sort of multi-role ship. Effectively, it's got luxury. As in, you can have a little party on it, but that's pure sandbox. It's a sandbox ship. It doesn't have any emissions that are specifically for it or anything. CIG have been building some, prototyping some FPS missions on these ships. We've been talking about them, so hopefully we'll see them in the game very soon. Maybe for 3.7, we'll see some derelict 890s or some assault and defense missions. Got an Olympic-sized pool. Is it Olympic-sized? A pool. Maybe not Olympic. We've got a big pool. Sun lounges. Can we actually use these? Oh, fuck, we can. Come on. Pretty sure that's not how we use a sun lounger. But maybe it is. Am I at... Huh. Oh, yeah, I haven't actually... actually selected a character, so I've got literally a default character. Huh. I just copied my account back across. Interesting the way the water sort of like doesn't work properly yet. I know they've been working on their water physics and tech, so sort of bear that in mind. What else have we got? So we've got little saunas. There is supposed to be a status system coming in that will track sort of like rest, inebriation, heat, lots and lots of environmental features, and sort of like track what's going on with your character. So if I go into the sauna, maybe my heat will go up, but maybe my relaxation will go up as well. Some very light survival mechanics with like thirst and hunger. And that sort of like maybe makes these ships a little bit more interesting. You can have like people resting and chilling out on them. So that lift leads to the would be the ground if I was landed, and this is the docking collars on each side of the ship. Yeah, the 890 jump is actually not as big as you think. Well, it is, but it's huge amounts of open space rather than winding corridors. An interesting choice. But as far as functionality goes, the ship is entirely form over function. So bear that in mind, except for those Red Bulls. How dare you? Pillow Talk up, is it? Rewatch Pillow Talk. Let's watch Pillow Talk. Bam. Because then I can be happy or sad with you. Oh shit. 10 minutes long? Perfect. Cool. Let us do this. Do this. Do this.
I was going to say, I'm going to be forced by Chris to do this.
You should have. Oh, I have a penny collection.
Is that a good volume? Is that a good volume for people? Make sure that is before we continue. expanding is never a bad thing, boy. That's good. I'll tell my stomach that. Swimming pool? Indeed, swimming pool. Is the Polaris still a better overall capital ship than the Nautilus? They're different. In a slogging match, ship to ship, the Polaris is going to beat the Nautilus because the Polaris is basically a capital ship killer with huge torpedoes. But the Nautilus, those sort of ships, they might be able to fight each other and then disengage in one-on-ones. So sort of bear that in mind. If the Polaris gets very close and starts opening up torpedoes, though, the Nautilus is going to be in a huge amount of trouble. So sort of bear that in mind. They are different ships for different roles, though. What's the point of keeping Rec in game these days? I mean, they will start to be focusing with a specific team on Star Marine and Marine Commander at some point again as well. It's supposed to be a game within a game, so they'll make it relevant again. Do you think we'll be able to deploy these giant orbital mining lasers of our own someday? Oh, maybe. Maybe some cool stuff like that. I'm expecting to have more sort of like potentially the ability to capture and build space stations and things like that as well. Mine laying is sort of like a stage towards that, in my opinion. But I suspect there's going to be lots of ways of making money and running sort of like organizations and having like huge amounts of economy gameplay and bases and things. What can we do now to break into ships without glitching to hijack and take cargo? You can demand they open the doors. I think you can blast the doors open still. I haven't actually tried that in 3.6 is branch, to be honest. But you should be able to blow doors open. I used to use the multi-tool to open them. Just by attacking them effectively with it. Right. We are... where can you spawn the A90 Jump in the Universe? At Lawville on Hurston, and at Area 18 on ArcCorp. Can't spawn on a Polaris now. Any other questions we've got? Cool. Let us...
It calls a coin collection.
My dad's got a collection of like, one of every coin in circulation.
Well,
running up by 10%?
this guy and his coins. All right. Gentlemen, welcome back to Pillar Talk. Pillar Talks are meant to talk about the patch and the upcoming release.
There's some
kind of talk about
disappointment.
the future, the past, a little bit, whatever we want to talk about, really. So, John, thank you for returning, our vehicle pipeline director. This is your second rodeo.
Yep, surprise stand-in for Sean Tracy.
Yeah,
who disappeared at short notice.
And Aaron, Chief Development Officer, welcome to your first Pillar Talk.
I try and avoid it as much as
Aaron
possible.
makes things happen.
This episode,
That's a
though,
high-level
we're
view of the
focus on
game.
a couple things. The first
Potentially
one,
more so than Chris Roberts
development.
does.
We're talking a little about the development process. We frequently will kind of go through and evaluate our development process from time to time, and then we're doing that right now. So, Aaron, what are we here to chat about?
You know, working on the project, and you know, we've adjusted a few times on the development side in terms of you know, working out what works, what doesn't work. We noticed in the last two deliveries we missed it by a couple of weeks each time because basically some features were coming in late, and so we couldn't get the rest, you know, the proper QA time to go in, and then you want to get it out.
There's no point having 1,000 features in the game if half the time, half of them don't work how you would expect.
But you still
them
have
to.
500 in the
You're not
game.
gonna have a fun time
right.
playing in that game.
So the idea is, rather than trying to get it done and squeeze it all into 3 or 4 weeks, we actually give ourselves plenty of time. So when we're delivering these features, we don't have more time to develop and make sure they're right. We have more time to really polish them. We have more time to really make sure that they, they're fun, they work.
But does that change our release schedule on the PU at all?
We're still delivering every quarter, it's just that we're trying to get a cadence where half the teams are basically getting more time. You know, we split up a bunch of the teams to smaller groups. They'll be working with 6 months worth of work. We're going to get 3.7 done in that period of time, so we can start the other teams overlapping. So a bunch of the teams are working on 3.8 stuff, while then the 3.7 teams who finish on 3.7 will then be working towards basically 3.9. You take that time, and then the development for it means that each of our sprints is basically 2 weeks. So rather than be able to do 3 sprints of 6 weeks, actually it works out we can do more like 8 sprints altogether, which is 16 weeks.
What's your kind of plan to make sure that we stay on task and we still deliver every 2 quarters on a staggered development for your teams? Like, do you still want to put in place certain things
Every
that
2
are like
quarters?
checks and balances and get it to QA, and does this all...
Yeah, it's essentially the same process, just over a larger time frame, which just makes each of those individual gates a much more achievable set of goals.
We want to keep a quarterly delivery, but why do we need to force all the teams all the time to be trying to hit this quarterly delivery?
It compromises especially on the dev side, when in your mind you've got the first week of a quarter, you're doing your planning, you know what you're going to do, you execute on it.
I think that just means that they're going to
and you go out to
take less time for planning because they're going to have,
and then you're expecting a
staggered patches 3.8, 3.9. They're working at the same time.
Start again. When it goes past that, the other date doesn't tend to move, so you then have to pinch that time back somewhere. Do you take it out of planning? Taking out of planning is usually a bad thing because then it makes executing it worse.
The content teams already run to a different cadence. They're not delivering every quarter. They may work for, if you're working on, on genocide ships,
genocide ships.
When
what?
We're happy with them. Like we always used to go towards.
Ships.
Here's the quarter releases for the year. Split up the ships between it. Go in. But then it was a case of, well, this ship needs more time because we're not happy with X, Y, Z on it. And rather than just release a ship at a date, we'll release it when it's ready, like the Defender, the 890.
Same with a lot of the environment work. If you're doing a big landing location planet, that's not something you just usually can fit in, in a nice tight,
But you know what?
3-month.
They haven't said anything yet.
But
they've been dancing around
generally, yes, we had some features which went a bit longer. Mining was one of them. The original set of mining went through, and that took a couple of quarters in the background. But since that period, we've really been trying to just fit everything into a sort of quarterly release. And the reason you do that is because we want to show as much,
ships.
as a team,
we're
all trying to show as much new stuff and new features and work as we can to the community, and we're trying to just shoe all it in.
And John, with this kind of cadence from a team's perspective, I guess, how does this impact the vehicle team that you're working with?
Aside from obviously giving us more time, because by doing it as a 6-month or longer block, you strip out those multiple planning and not testing, but sort of preparing for releases. If you're doing the feature in a quarter, you lose time for planning for that quarter and for testing that quarter. You string them together, you can strip that middle bit out and spend that on development instead.
So they have overlapping staggered development now.
Move away from developing features as like a checklist of features. Like we want to do X and Y in the game. If you do it in this very specific order, and knowing these caveats, you can do it.
Sure.
But that doesn't make it a fun and exciting experience to do. And we've got a huge amount of features in the game that if we tweak and sort of polish those, they all just work together so much more nicely, and then the whole overall experience becomes a lot better.
When we put new features in now, we don't have the time, and things break, and it's frustrating. We want to get away from that. We want to make that now when we deliver. My huge drive is to make sure that from now on, every time we deliver, it is better than the last quarter you had. And we felt like the last quarter or two, because we pushed some stuff in, it wasn't quite as as good as we'd like.
Yeah, that's right. And some of this comes from, I think, to throw a new one in here, some of this comes from the community, some of it comes even from the developers, right? Internally, like a lot of times we do a lot of postmortems, we do a lot of feedback gathering, and then we ourselves know these things. But how can we make the experience good for the developers, for the community, but then also get the game to where we feel like it?
But yeah, like I talked about earlier, because you're moving away from just ticking off a feature and saying, technically it's done, that feature works, but you have to work around it by doing this, and that. It allows people to sort of have more pride and just a great feeling about doing this thing. Like, this is a feature that I've worked on for 6 months and it works great. So now I'm happy for people to play it, rather than I was told I had to do this feature and this is what was provided in the time, and I know it's not great.
Yeah, it's like, this is all I could do in the time. We wanted it out, and a lot of that is about getting stuff in. There'll be a lot of different cool stuff, getting the economy working properly, getting a bunch of missions working properly, getting the AI working properly, getting lots of locations on the planets with all the different feature sets we have for creating. We've got this wonderful, the planetary tech, which allows us to basically just create, everything on the fly and the location on the fly, get all that stuff working. If we get that stuff working, we get the working stuff, and then we have an amazing gameplay experience, and then we can provide features and content and gameplay for years to come. To really just keep make this incredible universe we're doing.
Kind of on the cadence, the staggered of 6 months. Why 6 months? Why not a year? What was kind of the thinking behind that?
If a feature needed more than 6 months, you would have it. It was just more about doubling the cadence. We felt like typically 6 months is quite a good number, but yes, sometimes things take longer. Sure. But there will be some features which may need 9 months. They need 9 months. People work on 9 months. Yeah. It's just that what we aren't prepared to do is just try and throw it all in at the end, and then just have this huge mess of stuff.
I understand this.
We want to actually get to a level where it goes in because it's working, it's been tested. We think it's fun, it's great. Yes, there's going to be 1 or 2 issues and a few polished things.
So
but we now
there's
know
two
we
sides
have the
to
time
this.
to really make it great.
Sounds good if it's implemented right.
What kind of impact have?
And they do it properly. Also sounds like they could be slowing down development, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Are we going to reduce features? What's our plan with?
We have a whole list of the features that we apps 100% are going to deliver, but what we want to do is deliver them in a way that makes sense, and that means that we're going to go and going to get all the cool stuff we have working properly, and then when everything is working the way it should, I mean, at that point, that'll be for a game that'll be more gameplay than pretty much anything out there already.
And then we haven't talked about Squadron 42. Is there any impact to Squadron 42 with this?
I mean, John works in everything as well, but it really should help. I mean, at the end of the day, this whole situation means that there's less downtime for people who are doing the Squadron work and have to support stuff in the PU. We have the longer development cycles because a bunch of the work. I mean, all the Squadron features are in the PU. I mean, it's a shared code base, so this whole thing should really help. Everybody in what they're doing.
Yeah, the people that are working on missions for Squadron having to sort of work with the same stuff that goes out every quarter. Obviously, they get it as it comes in, but if people are struggling to do a certain feature in the PU, then spending longer to fix it means that the Squadron team gets that fix in a better state sooner, so it helps them.
So in terms of a long-term roadmap, yes, I think you will see some changes to that. Then we're going to basically just break down exactly where we're going with all the features and so forth to get them to where they need to be. And, we'll be sitting here in a year's time and we'll talk about some other improvements we want to do and so forth. But that's developments. I mean, you can't stand still. You have to sit there and you learn from your experiences and you work out what's worked.
If you just blindly do the same thing over and over again, then nothing's going to improve.
Yeah. Chris said in CitizenCon last year is, our plan is to, when we have persistence, when we have some of these core features in, like we've got like the orgs working properly, which is part of this drive as well for the things we're doing, when we have the server meshing going, at that point, we feel like we have a game, and that's what we want to get to. So we're working, while all this is going in, we're cleaning everything up, we're polishing up, we're making all these features work great, we're adding all the sub-features in there and so forth. And at that point, we have the game that people can just play and really love and play. And then what's great after that, every quarter, we give them more, we give them more, we give them more. We're then going to basically just keep on building on this for years to come.
That about says it all. Well, gentlemen, that was it. Pretty painless.
You didn't even butter me up with something new! You didn't learn from last week's Inside Star Citizen, you monsters.
For letting us do all this stuff, right?
Always, yeah.
Always. All right. Well, let's get back to work. Thanks, gents.
Cheers.
And they all said Jason at the end. RobertSpaceIndustries.com staggered dev. Let's go there. Is that just going to be a link to this video? Robert #dev. We will talk about this in a second. Think if there's anything. An FAQ that I didn't know was there. Staggered development is an approach that splits various development teams between multiple delivery dates. This puts teams into a cadence whereby they are delivering larger features every couple of quarters instead of every quarter. So you're not... So let's make this clear. They're still doing quarterly releases. You would still receive an update every quarter. The idea is that they have teams working in 6-month chunks on features now. So that's going to have them working on 3.7, and then when they finish their work on 3.7, those teams, obviously they might get subsumed into other bits, would then start working on not 3.8, but 3.9. And there's already people working on 3.8. And when they finish their work on 3.8, they start work on 4.0. And that gives them much larger sort of like cycles to work and be able to deliver stuff, as far as I understand it. To oversimplify for clarity's sake, an example of this would be half our dev teams will be working on 3.7, features, tech, and content, while the other half would be working on 3.8. Once the team working on 3.7 delivers the patch, they would then transition to 3.9. Boom! Fantastic, I did understand it. Staggering the teams like this means that 6-month cycles for development instead of 3. Yeah, cool. That still means they're going to deliver every quarter, though, so it's not like they're only delivering every 6 months. So bear that in mind. And it's just a internal change to how they do their planning, I suppose. Less time for planning because they've already well, not less time for planning, less time spent on planning because they do it in larger chunks. Staggering the teams like this means 6-month cycles for development instead of 3, which means more time to ensure features are more complete with fewer bugs, all while still delivering quarterly patches. Okay, I think we'll also start to see a lot more improvements and this be a lot better of an idea once Squadron 42 is out. Why staggered development? This positive change allows us to continue developing quarterly patches, but at a higher level of quality with fewer bugs. This does, however, mean we'll need to reshuffle our schedules internally, or initially, to better match this new cadence, but the result should provide a much more satisfying gameplay experience. Brace yourself for some roadmap changes. It's important to note that we're still in alpha, so bugs are of course expected. Still, we see bugs being reduced as staggered teams will have more time to develop and refine their features, tech and content, and put it through some thorough testing before it hits the live servers. This could mean a slowdown in the persistent universe's progress overall, but a much more better gameplay experience, a much more refined gameplay experience. Expect to see and people to be more critical of Star Citizen and its playable alphas if they start doing this, because that's what they've said. They're saying they're taking time to make sure these features and patches work well. So we'll have to adjust criticism accordingly by, deciding that, well, they need to start having very playable alphas. That's basically what they're saying. Now, does this mean more quarterly releases? No more quarterly releases. No, this does not impact quarterly releases. We will still release 4 major Star Citizen patches a year. This change reduces the risk of delivering patches late because it gives us more time to prepare the PTU for live releases and to make Star Citizen a polished, working and fun game for everyone to enjoy. I know that a lot of haters, I hate that fucking term, will have a field day with me saying this, but this may be good for development, although it's not going to be good for speed of the project. It is an admission that they need to work on getting these features more refined and worked on, which is true. I think we can all agree that's true. That's demonstrably true. So only time will tell if it's a great idea or a bad one. Does this mean we'll receive less content each quarter? Initially, so yes, initially. As we split features between different development teams, it may feel like the first patch under staggered development is lighter than the previous patches. So 3.7 is going to be lighter, it sounds. But as we ramp up and enter into a rhythm with staggered development, our goal is to have every patch as robust as previous patches prior to staggered development, but in a more polished and timely state. They are repeating themselves a lot. Furthermore, we remain committed to delivering features that are exciting and add to the overall Star Citizen experience every quarter, taking the time to do them right and communicating with you every step of the way. And that's what this new initiative is truly about. I always cut out when I do that when I'm recording in a video, going blah, 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 blah. I've talked in tongues the last minute. Staggered development is the new initiative for us, but it's one that's already showing promising results internally. Game development is a creative endeavour. Some things are going to come together faster than others. It can be difficult to fully predict the cadence at which any feature, tech or content will come online, but it's a challenge we want to continue taking head on. What does it mean if a feature previously listed on the public roadmap is now missing? Does this mean the feature is no longer being developed? No, the feature is definitely still being developed. To be as transparent in real time as possible, we have updated the roadmap mid-planning so you can see exactly where we are right now. Therefore, some features release dates are actively being discussed and prioritised and will land in their proper place once those discussions are completed. Okay, so brace yourselves for some roadmap changes and some disappointment in the short term. Star Citizen is annoying for its delays and its slow development, and it is slow development. Let's sort of like get that in perspective though, but it is true. Is this the last time you'll be doing a major roadmap update? We can't promise you that. The roadmap is undoubtedly the roadmap will undoubtedly evolve and change as the development of Star Citizen and Squadron 42 continues. This is the nature of game development, not often seen by public eye. As we've done in the past, this update to the roadmap is our best reflection of the direction we're currently heading in. We want to be as transparent and open as possible as we continue to develop Star Citizen and Squadron 42, and we have actively been brainstorming several ways that we can even that that we feel we can do even more in terms of communicating and keeping you all in the loop with our progress. We look forward to sharing those with you in the near future. What does this mean for the final feature list for Star Citizen? We're making the best damn space sim ever. That's not changing. We are improving how we make the game, and because you're along for the ride with us, we're telling you about it. Hopefully they will come up with a full features list. That's what I'm hoping for. Give me a full features list. Start to put that into perspective, because that will be really useful. How will this impact features in the roadmap? With a change to team timelines and sprint cycles, we'll definitely have initial recalibration to adjust both the Star Citizen and Squadron 42, but ultimately, we feel this will ensure more complete features with fewer critical bugs. Oh, I wonder how that's going to affect Squadron 42 then. How does this impact the vehicle pipeline? It doesn't. In fact, our vehicle teams have been working in this form of staggered development cycle for a while now. For example, you may have noticed that we recently shown off some of the work being done on both the Carrack and the Prowler, which are not slated to come out in the next patch. Okay, that makes sense. That's because they've been working staggered. What does this mean for Squadron 42? Ultimately, this is a really good thing for Squadron 42 development as well. Both Star Citizen and Squadron 42 share a codebase, and as features come online for both games, we will be in a more stable, playable state, reducing potential blockers that can hinder and slow development. You will, of course, notice that our target beta date for Squadron 42 is moved back by 12 weeks. 12 weeks. 12 weeks in the roadmap in today's roadmap update. So, 3 months. So 1 quarter. So the target beta for Squadron 42 is now Q3 2020. That is what they're saying there. That is what we probably expected. We kept on saying that, I kept on saying that Squadron 42's will probably see delays in its beta. If they can keep a beta of Q3 2020 for Squadron 42, we could potentially still see a Squadron 42. It's still optimistic release in 2020 at the end of the year. But this is a necessary step as a result of changing the overall development cadence, which we expect will create positive results in the overall delivery and experience of Squadron 42. I still have questions. Great. We expect you might. As mentioned above, we're exploring creative ways we can do even more to stay in close communication with you all. Next week, September 6th, Star Citizen Live will be dedicated to answering questions about staggered development and the roadmap. Once we've updated the roadmap later today, we'll also publish a question gathering thread so we can start collecting your top questions for the show. We'll also be closely monitoring Spectrum over the course of the next week, joining in on the conversation where we can. I will link that again for people that want to see that. I'm glad we actually followed that link. That was at the end of the video. Bam. So what do people think about that then? It sounds like a mixture of disappointment, but also something they needed to do. Are the roadmaps updated? Let us check that out. Bam. No, they are not updated yet, unless 23rd of August, last update. Let's check the other one, just in case. No, 23rd of August. Okay, so we are going to be expecting some delays in 3.7 and potentially some stuff on 3.8. And them to change over to these 6-month cycles with the dev teams, but we're still getting quarterly releases. So, okay, so Star Citizen, and when Star Citizen's going to release the actual persistent universe, that's years away. Okay, we know that's years away. They probably will go to sort of like UEC and full persistence and no more resets, like permanence, no more resets before the game is anywhere near out. So sort of like bear that in mind. That's my opinion on what they'll do with Star Citizen. Squadron 42, I'm still hoping that we get a Q4 2020 release for that, although it's very potential that it'll be Q1 2021 now. So we've got questions here. So we will really analyse that Star Citizen Live. I'll do a video after I've reread that and reread any dev responses about how they're doing staggered development. Star Citizen is never disappointing. Well, unfortunately, you'll be disappointed probably for 3.7 now. We'll do a breakdown of the new roadmap once we have it. Hopefully it will mean, and I think we should judge Star Citizen more critically on each individual patch that's released now. So if they are saying that they are spending extra time on getting features working well and that sort of stuff, then we should treat Star Citizen accordingly. We can be a bit more. This should be working. I think we can demand that. Well, demand's probably too strong a word, but expect that. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. This has just read that post for the video. Yeah, sorry if I'm not actually great at reading. I'm dyslexic, and I don't read well. You notice in a lot of my videos that they're bullet pointed, and I sort of like just talk at the camera. There'll be some cuts, but I'll just sort of like talk, and then I will typically take the exact words I've used and then put that as an article up on my website. So I actually don't read directly from a page very well. So apologies for anyone that was like, he can't even read! Doesn't physicalized inventory mean that it's less important what you own and more important you're near a physical inventory drop to pick up a digital purchase or loadout? So physicalized inventory will literally mean you don't have a magic bag of holding. You can't just equip any armor or weapon you want on your character. It's literally stored in a ship or in your hab. And you'll have to have a location where you put your gun to take it up. It also leads on to people being able to loot your body and have physicalized loot and things like that. What do each of these phases mean for developing ships? So you have white box, where they literally just block out the exterior and some of the interior. Then you have grey box, where they sort of like refine that process, add animations, add the internals properly, and then that moves on to the phases where they get the art done for the ship, and then the lighting passes, and then the final pass for the ship, and then it goes out to live. I'm not sure if it sucks that much. In the short to in 3.7, it sucks. Hopefully it won't have too much of an effect on 3.8 beyond 3.8 being more stable and not changing too much on the roadmap. We'll have to wait and see. We'll see the changes and talk about them once we know about them. I think that's probably the best thing to do. I'm not particularly massively happy about what I see as effectively delays, but I think we all realised when they were getting like 2 or 3 weeks behind each schedule, and then having to before like a live build, when they had their deadline for live, they were like 3 weeks late on that sort of stuff. They were like every a wider PTU but no live builds, and then they were releasing these 3.6.1, 3.6.2 patches. That's not appropriate for the sort of development they want to do, because they need to reintegrate that stuff into the branch and then split it off for the next branch. If they're doing it in these 6-month cycles, then effectively they've got 2 branch lines running at once? Or are they running one in dev branch? I suppose they have to be running one fully in dev branch, and then one as a splinter branch, and then bring that back, and then immediately branch it off as soon as they've released that patch, which should hopefully not require huge amounts of hotfixing, or, oh no, we didn't make this thing into this patch, we'll release it in a 0.5 patch. See, Blurred would consider No More Resets as the game being released. I wouldn't. So when they have released a game that when they have all the features and some systems in game, even if they're not fully finished features, I would consider it on the shelf release probably. No More Resets they could do, or full persistence they could do before that, potentially. Is there a chance this could actually accelerate the production of the giant Sandworm? So there is a potential that this would be very much more efficient for development. We don't really know. That's the problem. They can say this shit, and in the short term, certainly 3.7 is going to suffer feature-wise. But in the longer term, is it going to be more efficient? Are they going to be able to get more done because of it? Maybe. It should. So what they're saying is they're potentially slowing down development very slightly, but they're also removing huge amounts of the planning steps, and then working in this staggered development so they can get much better fuller features in. So maybe the features will get much more closer to their final state straight away. But then that takes away a bit from the sort of like us giving feedback on those things, and maybe our feedback's more balance-based. Maybe that's for the best or not. I don't know. And that's the problem. I don't know, and I can't compare it to itself because we need to see what both ways do and then see what's more efficient, and we can't. Is there a chance this will actually... So, we talked about that, sorry. I do think Chris Roberts originally was a mega perfectionist, and that damaged the development. I do think Aaron Roberts and some of the other key members of staff, they rein him back, and they, like Aaron, great guy. Aaron's going to get that game done. I mean, they're all great, but, you know, I have a lot of faith in Aaron to make Chris's vision realistic, if it's not realistic, and actually get it done. I'm having trouble in my Phoenix NPC, and take down my shields in a second. There's almost certainly some problems with Phoenix and balance and holes in shields at the moment. What do you think of the missile... What do you think of a missile cruiser, Corvette class, with dozens of missile tubes? Yeah, I think we'll see a Corvette or missile frigate, certainly. You said that's not how it works, Bud. What? We literally just read it. What's not how it works? Oh, I guess you're talking about feature branches. You have multiple feature branches, and you choose which features to merge into your Evocati branch and so forth. No, so the way I understand it is that they have game dev, yeah? The game dev branch has everything in it. Squadron 42, everything. And then they use the exclusion tool effectively to branch it off into a 3.7 branch, say. So that's the core of the game that we had in 3.6, plus all of the additions and changes they made to it, and then any of the new features they want for 3.7, yeah? So, is the team that's working on 3.8 and 3.8 and 3.9, say, no, 3.8, the team that's working on 3.8, are they working on game dev branch for when the 3.7 gets subsumed back into game dev, and then do they break it off immediately afterwards? Or are they working on two separate branches? Are they working on 3.8 and 3.7 simultaneously? That's sort of what I'm asking. That will be my question as well. I'll word it better. While I don't mind the shift to 6 months, you seem to give the impression that it's a bad thing. So, Mike, that's... So, they're still releasing quality patches, but the sound of it is that they are going to take longer on developing individual features, so they are less buggy. So that you can talk about, oh, it's 6 months though, rather than 3 months, whatever. Yeah, but they are still going to take longer in overall development with this approach. That's what it sounds like. I mean, maybe it's going to be quicker and more efficient, and maybe things are going to be more closer to their final sort of like final form and final standard, which might be significantly more efficient for the project and actually save time. But I'm saying that's what the argument will be. Well, this is going to take longer because they said they're going to take longer polishing stuff and making stuff work better. So, and 3.7 is going to suffer in the short term just for sort of like things getting pushed out of the patch. Hopefully, that will mean that 3.7 is incredibly playable with like very, very few bugs. If they can get all the missions fucking working, great. Does this mean CIG have just set a hard deadline for introducing capital ships into the persistent universe of Q3 2020? No. They haven't set any hard deadlines still. They basically said they will reevaluate this as and when. Yeah, I was hoping that maybe if they're going to have some pillar talk stuff talking about Stagger development, maybe don't do it as pillar talk. Maybe just talk about the change, a special episode, bam, changing to Stagger development. Boom. This is what's happening, this is what's going on. Pillar Talk, as far as I understood, was supposed to be talking specifically about the next patch cycle and cool features in it and what they liked about it and trials and tribulations of that. What's in 3.7? I don't fucking know now. They didn't talk anything about 3.7. Other than you're going to lose some features from it, probably. Is the Freelancer Max a good starter ship if I have the money? I mean, it's beyond a starter ship. I would probably buy it in-game. I mean, if you've got spare cash and you love the Freelancer Max, yeah, potentially go for that. Something that's like just a bit better than a starter ship, like an Avenger Titan, is pretty cool. Depends on exactly what you want to do in the game. Do you think we could use the mines as an unguided orbital bombardment? I doubt it. I suspect they will be destroyed pretty quickly in gravity. So like, but be interesting if they fall out of the sky, just explode when they hit the ground. Manager management, love it. Do you think it's why they are trying to distract Chris by giving him the physics refactor task? Apparently he's coding it. No, I think that you do need Chris at the helm. You do need Chris to do some vision work. He shouldn't overly micromanage, though, and that's something that people said that he used to do, especially early on in the project. But obviously, the studio is much larger now, and hopefully he doesn't overly aggressively prevent ships and features from being integrated because he's not happy with them, unless they are off vision. And I think we should probably divulge, listen to Chris when he says certain things. I mean, maybe he's the reason that the Bandit Defender's still not out. It didn't match his like design reviews when he went through them. And nope. It's been 6 months delayed because of that, potentially. It's an interesting one, because would it be a better, more developed game without Chris, though? Well, I mean, it's hypotheticals. I don't know. I think he's got the vision for that sort of thing. With Wing Commander, he genuinely brought all the cool concepts that other games had together and made them work. I'm hoping he can do that again with Star Citizen, and I think he can. He's got the right team behind him now. Personally, I'm glad they pulled out Aaron to explain, since he's the voice on the situation, always comes off more grounded. Yeah, so, I mean, Aaron is an incredibly hard worker, pretty blunt and honest guy, and he's has a high-level view of understanding of what's going on in the company and what's going on with the game. He's sort of like, I think the only person that I'd rather talk to about the game and project would be Tony Zorovic. Yeah. Do you think the Carrack would be fine to fly solo with an AI crew? Yeah, I think most ships will be fine to fly with an NPC crew. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna. They basically got us to prepare for big changes to 3.7, features slipping from that, but they'll probably add a load more fluff features or features that are in there and sort of like expand them out to describe them better. That's the sort of stuff I'm expecting with 3.7. I would expect physicalized inventories to slip out of that now then, almost certainly. And are we going to see the Banu Defender slip again? Do you think this is a possibility? Well, I am going to dash off in a minute. We'll talk a little tiny bit more on this. I am going to go and record playing Man of Medan with DC, and Kit and Zin are also going to do a playthrough, and then we're going to edit the playthroughs together to see what the boys did versus the girls. Do you think the hover mode debate was partially responsible for the shit? For the shit, I thought you said. Potentially. I mean, I believe they are still planning 3.7 to have some hover mode changes, because she told us the other day that there's some hover mode changes in 3.7 where they're going to make them fly less like a helicopter. They need to get that core gameplay in, like, so vitally, and that needed to be done last year. So the general flight model, combat, that needs to be fun again. It needs to be working. Yeah, we could see some of the AI stuff slip as well, like 3D pathfinding. Hopefully we won't see space station interiors slip. You know, they've been working on those quite a lot. But yeah, I'd expect to see some AI slips. I'd expect to see physical inventory slip. And then some other stuff get expanded out. And potentially even the... Oh, Cutlass Thread and Bandit Defender. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you may be moving. We'll have to wait and see. Huh. I don't think there's an issue with them delivering all the features they said for the game. It's just when. Like, there is a big delay in Star Citizen's sort of like general development. Delay. There's been delays, and it's slow. It's a slow development cycle. I do think that once they get Squadron 42 out, it will be a lot quicker, and be a lot more of a meatier game that they can just add bits onto. Pretty much for that. Bring back the music. Good shouts. Yeah. It's an interesting one. So when they finish the 890 jump and that's live, they are doing some light rework stuff to the 600i. Yeah, it wasn't really what I expected from a pillar talk, that episode. Do you think we'll see static server meshing by the end of 2020? That is what they have said at the Aegis Concierge event. That's what they're aiming for. That's maybe more specific. They are aiming for static server meshing by the end of 2020. Dun, dun, dun. Do you think a minefield with a combination of sucker punch armed mines and explosive mines would be more effective than explosive mines alone? Yeah, so turreted mines and normal and hover homing mines together probably would work pretty well. I'm not sure what loadouts would work best. I need to sort of like sit down and think about it. They did say that EMPs and distortion weapons would be able to temporarily disable mines as well, which is an interesting one. What else have we got? Anything else? Do you think we're gonna ship? Do you think we're gonna ship a step from the Carrack, but we'll be able to hold a saber-sized fighter? Don't know. Maybe not focused on exploration. I can imagine there's going to be ships where they're all able to dock a ship on top of them. Just like, yeah, you can have a saber. Bam, just land it on top of the ship. You think it will have Rust vibe on planets when people are starting to build bases? I don't think it will be like Rust. But I do think there will be a Wild West when you're outside of the UEE space that will have people blowing up each other's bases and stuff. But the ship pipeline wasn't affected. You are correct. They did say that. Because they've been working in that cycle for a while. They did say that. What colour do you want to see the Sentinel come in? We saw a sneaky peeky yesterday of what it possibly might look like. A light blue. I'm hoping, Houdini, that they might have it so that you can choose the livery with the 300 series ship customization system on the website, sort of thing. A meteor. Got more meat on its bones. Meteor game. Not a meteor. Meteor. Meat. Board, would you be interested in doing a shipyard deep dive series? Specifically, try to discuss and compares what's in the documents and the tech we see implemented and previewed? Yeah, that's actually a very good idea. Would be interested in that series. What ship would be your ideal ship? Depends on the task that I want to do. I love economy ships, so Reclaimer's probably my favourite ship for function. I love the idea of treasure hunting. Carrack's pretty close, though. Do you expect the Carrack to be delivered later than 3.8? I think they are still planning it for 3.8. We will know very soon, bros. As the Hull C is being delayed by animated physics grids, do you think that Hull C and planetary orbits will arrive at the same time? I don't know. I thought they had solved animated physics grids to a high level for the Hull C, but I'm not sure. We do know that they are still planning to have planets orbiting the sun and moons orbiting planets, and that when you quantum travel, the spline will sort of like work out where it's going to be or continue to move with it as you quantum travel. Oh, Jaybird, I am just about to go in a second, but Jaybird, I hope you're doing well. I love your fucking face. Hope you are doing good. What I'll do is I'll try and get a video up about the explanation in changes to staggered development later today. If not, it will be tomorrow. I do need to get... I'm going to be playing some Man of Dan in a second as a recording so that Zin can mess around and edit with it. But I love you guys. Thanks, man. I've been bored at work and wrote like 5 pages of thoughts down it and was wondering what other people thought. No worries, mate. Other weapon thought, I assume you mean people. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all the love. It is very much appreciated. Yeah, that was interesting. Is it going to be good or is it going to be bad for the project? Only time will tell. It was necessary, though. I'd say that. I think we were all aware that they were slipping on their timescales. So maybe it's going to be a much better, more efficient roadmap and process, but more developed updates. But we'll have to treat Star Citizen and criticize it based on that then, and we'll have to treat each patch release from 3.8 onwards, I suppose, as being on this new staggered development cycle. And they say it's going to make for better patches, so let's fucking hope that's true. Thanks, I appreciate the love. You stars. When do you expect to see multiple systems in the persistent universe? Next year. I suspect we will see at least one more system next year in-game. Let us see who else is streaming. From Star Citizen. So, do we think that ship rentals are going to be pushed to 3.7? Yeah. Hopefully not 3.8. Interesting one though, isn't it? Interesting. We are going to... who else is online? There's very few English-speaking streamers online. We will go and host Ubernerd, for he does quite a good stream. Do you think this will ensure we get a full 3.8? I think this will ensure that when they put stuff on the roadmap, it's much more likely to stay on the roadmap. I think we'll have to see what changes they've made to the roadmap, and then I'll comment on that. Because I don't know. I don't know what's going on. 100%. Board, can we email you? Yeah, you can email me at contact@boredgamer.co.uk. Thank you, no worries. I'm happy to respond and answer questions where I can. We're going to go and host Ubernerd in a second. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know how I feel about staggered development. I think I'm disappointed that 3.7 is obviously going to suffer. And then we need to see the roadmap, and then we need to actually judge whether it was a good idea based on 3.8 and 3.9. Yeah, seem reasonable? Let's do that. I'll try and get a video up soon talking about it. I love you guys. Thanks very much for watching. /raid Uber. Is that going to work? It fucking is. If you want to further support the channel, please consider becoming a Patreon or a YouTube member or a Twitch subscriber or donating all your hard-earned cash to my channel. It does really hurt. We are almost entirely community supported. Obviously, we get some monies from YouTube advertising. Beyond that, we're not supported by anything else. Well, I suppose supported by people clicking on shadow links and NordVPN links and Game Glass links at the moment. Love you guys. You take care. Peace out. Fucking